Hello guys, how are you today? So today I'm gonna be explaining the diagnostic periodic. So it turns out there's a few changes that calculators are not allowed. The quiz I did is good for extra preparation, but please do it without calculator. I did not know that. They just updated and sent the periodic exam right now. So it's only 7 pages of questions and I'll be solving them all. And don't worry, I'm gonna be doing it without calculators as well. So they're saying which of the following is true? Select the two correct options. So they're going to ask us about what about the domain of these types of equations. So what you need to know about the domain, okay, is that if it is a radical, for example, in this case, we have fx is equal to radical x plus 5. You will take the number inside of the radical, which in this case is x plus 5, and you will make it greater than or equal to 0. Why? Because inside of a radical, you cannot have any number that is negative, okay? So any number that's not negative is either positive or it is equal to 0. That's why you take the number inside of the radical, which in this case is x plus 5, you will make it greater than or equal to 0. So you will move 5 to the other side and you will get that x is greater than or equal to negative 5. So this proves what? This proves that part A is correct. And since we already solved it, that means we can cross out part B. Let's move on to part C. What does it say? It says the domain G of x squared minus 8x is the set of all whole numbers. Now here's the case. If you read it really quickly, you might think, okay, it's correct, and I will take it correct. Why? Because you will see that this is a function. It does not have any radical. It does not have any denominator. It does not have any radical in the denominator. So all numbers will work in this equation over here. But if you read it carefully, you will see that the domain is the set of all whole numbers. Whole numbers are anything except decimals, except fractions. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 5, minus 6, whatever, etc. All these are what are whole numbers because they're not decimal and they're not fraction. Whereas in reality, it's the set of all real numbers. So you cross out whole and you replace it with real, or you can put the R like this. In both cases, they are both correct. If it's a real or if it's the R like this, but whole numbers are incorrect because it's the set of all real numbers. So C is wrong. The domain of this is the set of all real numbers except 8. This is also wrong because there's no exclusions. Okay, we'll move on to part E. They need the domain of this fraction. So what about the domain of this fraction? So as you can see, we're dealing with a fraction. So you're gonna take the denominator, not the numerator, the denominator, because the denominator is what is gonna affect us. And we have to make sure that the denominator will not be equal to 0. So you will take our denominator, which is x plus 1, and you will make it different than 0. So you will move 1 to the other side. You will get that x is different than minus 1. What does that mean? That it means that the domain of this function is the set of all real numbers except minus 1. This is true. Why? Because if you put minus 1 plus 1 will give us 0, and we do not need 0 in our denominator, because if you put any number over 0, you're going to get the answer as infinity, as we will learn later on. But definitely we don't need to use it now. That's why we cannot have 0 in our denominator. And in that case, that means F is wrong. So that's it for question number 1. Now I'll just do a quick review of the type of questions you could have. You could have it as a radical, for example, radical x minus 3. If you have this radical, how do you solve it? You will take the number inside of the radical, or the equation inside of the radical, and you will make it greater than or equal to 0. So x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. Move it to the other side. X is greater than or equal to 3. Now, another case you might have is the denominator, which is 1, for example, over x minus 3. Again, you will take the denominator and you will make it different than 0, because our denominator cannot be equal to 0. If it's equal to 0, it's going to be equal to infinity, which we will not need right now. It's not our main focus, but as long as our denominator is different than 0, then it will be fine in the fraction. So you will move it to the other side. X is different than 3. Now, very important. If you have, for example, x minus 3 by itself, the set or the domain is what is the set of all real numbers. Now here, this is also a very important one. It did not come in this example, but it may come in another one. If you have, for example, 1 over radical x minus 3. Now, this may look like a trick, okay? It is a bit tricky, but it's not a trick. It's very easy. Think of it like this. If it is a radical, it has to be greater than or equal to 0. So this is the first condition we need, that it has to be greater than or equal to 0. And if it's the denominator of a fraction, we know it cannot be equal to 0. So very simply, what you're going to do is you're going to remove the equal to 0. So it's going to be what? It's going to be x minus 3 has to be greater than 0. So you'll move it to the other side, and x has to be greater than 3. These are the 4 types of cases you will get. In all cases, there's an answer for it, and this is it for question number 1. We'll move on to question number 2. Which of the following is true about the graph of y is equal to minus 3, x minus 1 squared minus 9? So first thing you will need to remember is the basic equation of the graph, which is either fx or y, same thing, fx is equal to y. So for example, y is equal to ax minus h squared plus k. What do we need to know? A, if it's positive, then that means what? It opens upwards. If it's negative, then it opens what? It opens downwards. HK, they are what? They are the vertex. So these are the important things you need to know first. So now that we have that in mind, let us take this equation over here. As you can see, our A is what? Is negative 3. Knowing that it is negative, okay, and that it's squared, meaning it's going to be a parabola, that it's an upside down parabola. So it's not accurate, by the way, it's just like any random representation. But because, as you can see, our A is negative 3, because it's negative, it's going to be upside down, or it's going to open downwards. So it's going to look something like this, right? So in between the first 2 options, we will know that it opens downwards. Next thing, we said what? We said that HK is what? It is the vertex, right? So again, what is the general equation? It's y equals minus a x minus h squared plus k. So what does that mean? That means you're gonna ignore the minus over here and you'll only take this value. So again, ignore the minus over here, or in another sense, take the opposite of this value. So you have x minus 1, make it equal to 0. So x minus 1 is equal to 0, so x is equal to 1. Now we know that x is 1, right? So 1 is also what? 1 is also h. It's also this h over here. That leaves us for k. What is k? K is minus 9. So minus 9 is going to be k. So the vertex is supposed to be what? It's supposed to be 1 minus 9. It's supposed to be something like this. That means the vertex is not at minus 1 minus 9. It is at 1 minus 9. Now what we need to know, because it is open downwards, that means that the vertex is the highest point on the graph. So it's going to be this point over here. So D is correct. That means B and D are correct. Then we have what? That the range of values of y is all real numbers such that y is greater than or equal to minus 9. So this is incorrect. Why? Because it says y must be greater than or equal to minus 9. But since the vertex is the highest point on the graph, that means minus 9 is going to be the highest point on the graph. However, a parabola will extend forever. That means what? That means it's going to go down forever. That means y has to be less than or equal to minus 9. So this is definitely incorrect. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is this. Remember when we solved x minus 1 is equal to 0, we moved minus 1 to the other side and we got that x is equal to 1. Since x is equal to 1, we can say that this is what? This is the axis of symmetry on the graph. So the 3 correct answers we have are B, D, and F. That's it for question number 2. Let's move on to question number 3. So in question number 3, it says, which of the following is a possible root of this, where m is a whole number? Now, again, I explained in the previous video, there's a difference between possible root and actual root. A possible root is what's possible, whereas an actual root is what actually works in the equation. How to tell the difference between them? A possible root, how do we find it first? In order to find the possible root, you will take the last digit, which in this case is a constant. It's always to be the constant. You will take the constant, which in this case is 7. and you will find its factors, for example, plus minus 1, plus minus 7. And then you will take the digit of the first variable, which in this case is x to the power of 3, so the digit is 1. And you will find the variables, so plus and minus 1. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to divide it by this. And you'll also take this and you're going to divide it by this. So you're going to have 4 possible roots, which are plus 1, minus 1, plus 7, and minus 7. Now, these are what? They are possible roots. Whereas to find the actual root, right, you would need to take one of these roots and substitute them in the equation. If by substituting in the equation you will get an answer equal to 0, then you will know that this is an actual root. If you find anything else than 0, you will know that it's not an actual root. So we found the possible roots, which are plus 1, minus 1, plus 7, and minus 7. So in this case, it's minus 7, 1, and minus 1. So it is A, B, and E. So that is it for question number 3. We'll move on to question number 4. The rule for the function graphed below is fx is equal to this. So this over here is what? This is an absolute value function, right? How do we know it's an absolute value function? Because it's a V-shape. Even if it's upside down, you can see that it's like a V-shape almost. So what's the basic equation for the absolute value function? It is fx is equal to a absolute value x minus h plus k. And again, same thing. If a is positive, that means it's up. If a is negative, that means it's down. Then hk is what? It is the vertex, right? So now that we have the basic function, we'll be able to find the rule for the function graphed below. Let's start by taking the vertex. What is our vertex in this case? Our vertex in this case is minus 2, 6, right? So it's gonna be fx is equal to a absolute value x minus minus 2, minus becomes plus, so plus 2, okay? Plus k, so plus 6. So now we already have two values filled in, which is 2 and 6. Now what's left is to find the value of a. Very simply, in order to find the value of a, just take one very visible point. In my opinion, take this point over here, which is what? Which is 0, 4, and substitute it in the equation. What does this mean? First of all, we should know that fx is equal to y. So in this case, we have 0, 4. 0 is going to be our x, 4 is going to be our y. That means instead of fx, you're going to substitute by 4. So it's going to be 4 is equal to a absolute value 0 plus 2 plus 6, right? Now you continue solving. You're going to get 4 is equal to a times the absolute value of 2 plus 6. Move this to the other side, you will get minus 2 is equal to a absolute value of 2. Divide both sides by absolute value of 2, then you will get that a is equal to minus 1. So now we have it filled. It's gonna be fx is equal to minus 1 times the absolute value of x plus 2 plus 6. Okay, that is it for question number 4. Same exact thing for question number 5. Only difference is that this is a parabolic function. So again, just a quick recap. The basic equation is fx is equal to a times x minus h to the power of 2 plus k. And again, hk is the vertex. And if a is positive, it's up. And if a is negative, it's down. Now we start by getting the vertex. This point over here, you can see that it is 2 minus 2, which is hk. So we'll need to substitute them in their respective places. So that means the basic equation is going to be what? It's going to be fx is equal to a x minus 2 squared minus 2. So we already have this filled and this filled. Do not put minus 2 again because there's already a minus over here. Pay attention. Now, last thing we need to do is find the a. Again, choose a point. For example, this point over here, this is 1, 0. Right? So we'll substitute it over here. Remember again, fx is equal to y. So let's substitute it. Y is 0. 0 is equal to a times 1 minus 2 squared minus 2. Move this to the other side. 2 is equal to a times 1 minus 2 minus 1 squared. So it's basically 1. So 2 is equal to a times 1. So 2 is equal to a, so the value of a is what it is, 2. So that's it for question number 5. We'll move on to question number 6. Okay, so here what we need to do is we'll need to substitute the value of minus 5 instead of x. So anytime you see an x, open a parentheses, minus 5 squared, minus 4 times minus 5 plus 9. So it's gonna be minus 5 times 25 plus 20 plus 9. So minus 125 plus 29. So after much solving, you will get what? You will get minus 96. We'll move on to question number 7. In the figure below, line A is tangent to the circle at H and forms an angle of measure 74 degrees. Again, as you can see, this angle over here that they're talking about, angle X, or this angle over here, is intercepting this arc over here. So you see, the red arc is intercepted by the red angle. But then again, the blue angle is intercepting the very same arc. So because they're both intercepting the same arc, it means they will have the same angle value, which is what? Which is 74 degrees. We'll move on over here. Here, how do we solve this? Remember that this is an isosceles triangle because both sides are equal. And in total, in a triangle, it is 180 degrees. So 180 minus 50 will leave us with 130. Now, because it's an isosceles, the base angles are equal. So you'll need to divide 130 among them. So you'll get 65 and 65. And then again, as you can see, this angle, this arc, my bad, over here is being intercepted by this angle, which is also being intercepted by this angle. So as you can see, angle 65 over here is intercepting the same arc as angle X. That means X is what it is, 65 degrees. We'll move on over here. They said the measure of BAC is what? Degrees. They want us to find the measure of angle BAC, this one over here. So first thing you notice is that this is the diameter because it's passing through the center O, right? Because O is the center and you have 2 points on a circle that create a line passing through the center, you call this what? A diameter or a diameter, whatever it is. Now, because this is a diameter, that means it's going to divide the circle into 2 equal parts. This is 180 degrees and this is also 180 degrees. That means this angle over here, which is intercepting this arc, can you see this angle, CBA, intercepting this arc over here is gonna be half because it's an internal angle, right? This internal angle is gonna be like the arc cut in half. So if this is 180 divided by 2, this is gonna be 90. Now, something else you can notice is that BDA intercepts this arc, which is also intercepted by angle BCA. That means these two angles are equal, so this is also 56 degrees. And that leaves us with the ability to find the angle BAC very simply by doing 180 minus 90 plus 56. Where's 90 plus 56? It's going to be 6. 9 plus 5 is 14. So now 180 minus 146, 0 minus 6 is 4. You're going to be left with a, you will take away from this over here. So this is 7. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So the measure of angle BAC is 34 degrees. Right, we'll move on to question number 10. Now, honestly, I don't know how we're supposed to solve these without the calculator, but you will have to try your best. So, the radius of the sphere of this volume, again, you know that the volume of a sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cubed, right? So cancel pi and pi, cancel 3 and 3. You will have 5324 is equal to 4r cubed. So now you'll have to divide 5324 divided by 4 is equal to what? 5. This is 1 minus 4. 1. Drop the 3. 3 minus 12. 0, 1. Drop the 2. That's going to be 3 again. So minus 12, 0, 0. Drop the 4. That's going to be 1 again. You will get 1331. So 1331 is equal to r cubed. And then you'll just do the cubic root of each side. And you'll get that r is equal to 11. Now, this is the radius. In the second one, they're asking for the surface area of a sphere of volume, whatever this is. We know that the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared, right? And the volume of a sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. So very simply, just cross out anything in common, pi and pi, 3 and 3, and you're left with 8788 is equal to what? is equal to 4r cubed, right? First thing we need to do is find the radius. So I think we need the calculator for sure. I don't know how we're gonna do this question without the calculator. So it's gonna be 8788 divided by 4. So it's gonna be 2 minus 80. Drop the 7. 1 minus 4. We're gonna have 3. Drop the 8. 38, we have 40, 32, 36 is the closest, so 9 minus 36, you're gonna have 2, drop the 8, 7, so 2197, okay, is equal to r cubed. So now you'll need to do for both sides. Let me just check really quickly. I think it's 13 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is 13. So the cubic root of 2197 is what is 13. Now we have what? We have the radius. Since we have the radius, we'll substitute it over here and we'll get our answer. So 4 pi 13 squared. 13 squared is, my bad, wait. 169, right? So it's going to be 4 times 169. Pi, so it's going to be 676. So the surface area of a sphere is 676 pi. They told us it's k pi and they only want the value of k, so the value of k is what is 676. We'll move on to question number 12. Here again, we'll need to not use the calculator. The rule for g round f. What does it mean? It means you will substitute the value of fx in the value of gx. So anytime you see an x in gx, you will substitute it by a bracket. So 3 squared minus 8 plus 5. Now, in the brackets, you'll put 4x minus 2. Right? Now, let's expand. First of all, you're going to expand these squares, so it's going to be 16x squared minus 16x plus 4 minus 32x plus 16 plus 5. Then you'll multiply by 3, so 48x squared minus 48x plus 12 minus 32x plus 16 plus 5. Then after expanding, you're going to get what? You're going to get 48x squared minus 80 plus 33. That is it for this question. We'll move on to the next question. Now, here, we need to find f inverse of x. There's many ways of doing this. I'll explain the really easy way first. It's by just swapping them. If you want to skip and you know how to do it, you can skip. So just swap these two and switch their signs. What does it mean? It means instead of minus 1, you'll put minus 5. Instead of minus 5, you'll put minus 1. And then you switch their signs. So if it's minus, you put plus. If it's plus, you put minus. In this case, it's going to be what? It's going to be 1x plus 2 over 3x plus 5. This is one really simple way to do it. Another way to do it is to substitute fx by y. So it's going to be y is equal to minus 5x plus 2 over 3x minus 1. Move this here. You're going to get 3x minus 1 times y is equal to minus 5x plus 2. Multiply 3xy minus y is equal to minus 5x plus 2. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put everything with x to one side and everything without x to another side. So it's going to be 3xy plus 5x is equal to y plus 2, right? Now you're going to take the x in common. So x times 3y plus 5 is equal to y plus 2. Now you'll move it to the other side. So x is equal to y plus 2 over 3y plus 5. Now what you're going to do is you're going to switch the x to f inverse of x, and you're going to switch the y's into x, and you'll get your final answer. Both of these ways work. Now we'll move on to question number 14. They told us one root of this is of 4x squared minus 23x plus 28 equals to 0 is x 7 over 4, and the other root is whatever. Now, one really important way we need to know is the product sum equation, which is x squared is x squared minus s plus p. What does it mean? It is x squared, always it has to be x squared, there's no digit next to it, minus the sum plus the product. So the two roots, you add them together, you will get the value of the sum. Of course, the minus is in the equation, not the sum number. And the two roots, you multiply them together, you get the product. I always prefer to work by the product. So in this case, let's make it x squared by dividing everything by 4. Right? In this case, you'll get x squared minus 23 over 4x plus 28 over 4, which is 7. Right? So 7 is equal to the first root, which is 7 over 4, times the second root, which is x. So now you'll have to move this to the other side. 7 times 4 over 7, because you flip it to the other side, is equal to x. Cancel 7 and 7, you will get that x is equal to 4. Now you have what? You have that x is equal to 4. You have the second root, right? Now, how do you find the factors? Very simply. You're gonna solve it the opposite way, because from factors to root, for example, x minus 4 is equal to 0, move it to the other side, x is equal to 4. This is how you do it. Now you're gonna do it the opposite way. So you'll move it to the other side, x minus 4 is equal to 0. This is the first root. For this case, you need to multiply first, right? Because division, move it to the other side is multiplication. So 4x is equal to 7. Now move it to the other side, 4x is minus 7 is equal to 0. That's it for question number 15. We'll move on to question number 14. We'll move on to question number 15. How do we find these roots? Now, you could use a calculator for this, but since no calculators are allowed, we'll need to use the b squared minus 4ac, which is the discriminant. This is delta, discriminant is equal to b squared minus 4ac, right? And then, in order to find the roots, you have to use the equation minus b plus minus radical delta over 2a, right? So let's start. First of all, let's find the discriminant. Discriminant is equal to b squared, so minus 2 squared, minus 4ac, so minus 4 times 1 times minus 6. So it's gonna be 4 plus 24, which is what? Which is 28. Now we have the value of the discriminant, which is 28. Now to find the root, you will take minus b. So in this case, b is what? Is minus 2. So minus 2 is gonna be 2. Plus or minus radical discriminant, which is 28 over 2. As you can see, this is the answer they wanted from us. So that means fill in the box. It is what it is, 28. Now we'll move on to question number 16. They want us to find the value of m if this is a factor. Now, first thing you need to do is you need to do the division method for this in order to find the value of m. But before, you need to make this equal to 0. So x plus 2 is equal to 0. X is equal to minus 2. Now you start. You will take the number of each and every one of these. So you will not skip a single one. You will go x4, x3, x2, x, and no x, right? So you'll start. You'll only take the number. This is 1. There's no x3, so you'll put 0. Then minus 2. Then plus 3m. Okay, then plus... My tablet fell. Amazing. Then plus 64, right? Now, you will take this over here, minus 2, and you will divide accordingly. First thing you're going to do... Hold on. First thing you're going to do is you're going to drop the 1. You always drop the first digit. And then you multiply. Minus 2 times 1 is minus 2. Then 0 plus minus 2 is minus 2. Then minus 2 times minus 2 is 4. Then minus 2 plus 4 is 2. Then minus 2 times 2 is minus 4. Now we stop here. Because they want it to be a factor, that means the last value should be 0. In order for this to be 0, this needs to be what? This needs to be minus 64. And how is this minus 64? You need to divide it by minus 2 first of all. Minus 64 divided minus 2 is 32. Now you have this value over here, right? And we stop, right? So again, in order for this to be a factor, the last digit should be 0. So in order for it to be 0, this needs to be minus 64. Now we need to find this value over here. In order to find this value over here, you will take minus 64 and divide it by minus 2. And you will have an answer of what? You'll have an answer of 32. Now you will take this equation by itself. 3m minus 4 is equal to 32. Move it to the other side. 3m is equal to 36. So m is equal to 12. Very simply. We'll move on to question number 17. What's the value of x? Whenever you see like this, just I'll explain it once. Because it's an inscribed angle intercepting this angle. 6x is intercepting this angle. And then 48 is intercepting this angle. This means what? This means that they are the same. That means 48 is equal to 6x. And then x is equal to 8. Move on to question number 18. In the figure below, the measure of arc WU is 50 degrees, while the measure of arc FV is x degrees. What is the symbol of x? Okay, so here, as you can see, we have that the angle is inside. Whenever the angle is inside, you need to remember this rule. Outside angle plus outside angle over 2 is equal to inside angle. So x plus 50 over 2, outside plus outside over 2, is equal to inside is equal to 70. Move this to the other side. X plus 50 is equal to 140, so x is equal to 90. Very simply. Now, the last and final question, which of the following are one-to-one functions? Again, in order to know if it's one-to-one function, you need to draw a line, and if there are two dots on the same line, then this is not one-to-one. So this is not one-to-one. This is not one-to-one. Neither is this. This, however, is one-to-one. This is correct. This is not one-to-one, and this, no matter where you draw the line, there's no 2 points on the same line, so it is what it is, one-to-one. That's it for this video. The answer key is on the bottom of this. I'll include it in the description of this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful